A ring. A lie. A daughter he never knew existed. When billionaire Adrian Vale sees a meteorite ring on a stranger's finger, the exact ring that vanished with the woman who supposedly abandoned him 30 years ago, his entire world shatters in seconds. The shy waitress wearing it? She might be his daughter. The mother he thought betrayed him? She's been hiding, terrified, believing he tried to destroy her. Tonight, one chance encounter will rip open decades of deception, expose a family conspiracy, and force three strangers to confront a truth that could either heal them or break them forever. Stay with me until the end. Hit like and drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this story travels. The rain came down in Chicago like it had something to prove. Adrian Vale sat in the corner booth of Marcello's, a restaurant so expensive it didn't bother listing prices on the menu. The kind of place where silence cost extra, dark wood paneling, soft piano music that nobody listened to, waiters who moved like ghosts. He preferred it that way. His phone sat face down on the table, untouched. His glass of scotch, 18-year single malt $70 a pour, sat equally ignored. He wasn't here to drink, wasn't here to eat. He was here because the alternative was going home to that empty penthouse, walking past his son's room where Ethan slept under the supervision of yet another nanny, and sitting alone in a living room that felt like a mausolege. So he sat here instead. Same booth, same night every week. Thursday, 9 p.m. Alone. The waiter approached with the kind of deference that came from recognizing a regular who tipped in hundreds. "Mr. Vale, the usual?" "Yeah." "Very good, sir." The waiter disappeared. Adrian stared out the rain-streaked window at Michigan Avenue below, where headlights blurred into rivers of red and white. 32 years old. Billionaire by 28. Single father by choice, or circumstance, depending on how you counted it. Owner of Vale Industries, a tech empire that employed 14,000 people across 6 countries. And every single night he came back to this. Nothing. His fingers drummed against the table. Stop. He forced his hand flat. Control. Always control. That's what his father taught him. Emotion is weakness. Hesitation is failure. The world doesn't give a damn about your feelings. It only respects results. The waiter returned with a plate. Seared duck breast, figs, something green that probably had a French name. Adrian didn't care. He cut into it mechanically, chewed, swallowed, tasted nothing. His mind was already elsewhere. Tomorrow's board meeting, the acquisition in Singapore. Ethan's parent-teacher conference next Tuesday that he'd probably miss because his CFO scheduled a call with London at the same time and nobody thought to check his calendar properly. "Excuse me." Adrian looked up. A woman stood beside his table. Early 30s, maybe. Dark hair pulled back in a ponytail that had started to come loose. She wore the restaurant's uniform, black slacks, white button-down, a small name tag that read Mira. Her hands were clasped in front of her like she was trying to keep them from shaking. "Yes?" His voice came out colder than he intended. He didn't soften it. "I'm sorry to interrupt." She spoke quietly, eyes darting to the side like she was already planning her escape route. I noticed your ring." Adrian glanced down. The meteorite ring sat on his right hand, fourth finger. Tungsten band inlaid with a thin strip of Gibeon meteorite, the crystalline pattern visible even in the dim light. He'd worn it for so long he forgot it was there most days. "What about it?" "My mother." Mira stopped, started again. "My mother has one exactly like it." The air left the room. Adrian stared at her, stared at the ring, back at her. "What did you say?" "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have." She took a step back. "I just thought it was unusual. I've never seen another one like hers. I didn't mean to bother you." "Wait." The word came out sharp. She froze. Adrian forced himself to breathe. "Your mother. Where did she get it?" "I don't know. She's had it as long as I can remember." Mira's voice got smaller. "It's the only piece of jewelry she owns. She never takes it off." Adrian's heart was doing something it hadn't done in years, something that felt dangerously close to panic. "What's your mother's name?" "I really shouldn't." "What's her name?" The intensity in his voice made her flinch. For a moment she just stood there, caught between the instinct to run and something else. Maybe curiosity, maybe fear. "Elena," she whispered. "Elena Cole." The world stopped. Elena. Elena. Adrian was on his feet before he realized he'd moved. The chair scraped back. His hand shot out and gripped the edge of the table because if he didn't hold on to something, he was going to fall. Where is she? His voice didn't sound like his own. Where is your mother? Mira took another step back, genuine alarm flashing across her face. Sir, I think... Where is she? I can't... You need to calm down. How old are you? The question seemed to catch her off guard. What? How old are you? 30? I'm 30. Why does that... Adrian did the math in his head. The numbers lined up. The timeline fit. 30 years ago, he was 2 years old. No, that wasn't right. He was told 30 years ago. He was told Elena was gone, told she left, told she wanted nothing to do with him or the baby. The baby. He looked at Mira. Really looked at her. Dark hair. Dark eyes. The shape of her face. The way she held herself, like she was trying to take up as little space as possible. Oh, God. I need to see her. He heard himself saying the words from very far away. I need to see Elena, right now. Sir, you need to sit down. I'll pay you. The words tumbled out. Whatever she needs. Medical bills, rent, anything. I'll cover it. Just take me to her. Mira stared at him like he'd lost his mind. Maybe he had. You're insane, she said flatly. Probably. Adrian grabbed his phone, his wallet, threw $300 bills on the table without counting. But I'm also serious. Your mother, Elena, she knew me a long time ago, before you were born. I need to see her. She never mentioned... She wouldn't have... His voice cracked. He didn't care. Please, I'm begging you, take me to her. Mira looked at him. Really looked at him. Whatever she saw there made her hesitate. She's sick, Mira said quietly. She's very sick. The medical bills are... She stopped, shook her head. She doesn't need stress right now. She needs rest and treatment, and I'll pay for all of it. Adrian pulled out his phone, opened his banking app, held it up so she could see the balance. 8 figures. Every penny, best doctors, best hospital, whatever she needs. Just let me see her. Mira stared at the screen, then at him, then at the meteorite ring on his hand. You're serious. Dead serious. She closed her eyes, took a breath. She's going to kill me for this, Mira muttered. Then louder. My shift ends in 20 minutes. Meet me outside. Adrian stood in the rain, waiting. He'd sent a text to his driver. Take the night off. I'll drive myself. Then another to Ethan's nanny. Put him to bed. I'll be late. He didn't explain. Couldn't explain. How do you tell someone that your entire life just fractured into before and after, and the breakpoint was a waitress noticing a ring? The restaurant door opened. Mira stepped out, now wearing jeans and a worn jacket. She had a backpack slung over one shoulder. She looked at him standing there in his $2,000 suit getting soaked, and something like pity crossed her face. Your car? Adrian gestured to the black Tesla parked at the curb. Top of the line. Bulletproof glass. He'd bought it because it was the safest vehicle on the market. Because Ethan sometimes rode in it. Because control meant preparation, and preparation meant never being caught off guard. Except tonight, he was caught so far off guard, he couldn't even see the guard anymore. They got in. The interior went quiet, rain pattering against the windows. Where to? Adrian's hands gripped the steering wheel. Mira gave him an address on the south side. 40 minutes in this traffic. Maybe longer. He pulled into the street. For a while, neither of them spoke. The city slid past in streaks of light and shadow. Adrian's mind was racing, spiraling, trying to construct a coherent timeline from fragments of memory and things he'd been told. He was 2 when they told him his mother left. No, not his mother. Elena. Elena wasn't his mother. Elena was... what? The woman his father said tried to trap him? The woman who showed up pregnant, demanding money, and then disappeared when the family refused to be extorted? That's what he'd been told. But if that was true, why did she have the ring? His father gave him that ring when he turned 18, said it was important, said it was a reminder that some people will try to use you, and you have to be smart enough to see it coming. But his father gave him this ring, which meant his father had it, which meant Elena didn't take it with her when she supposedly left, which meant someone was lying. Can I ask you something? Mira's voice cut through his thoughts. Yeah. Why does this matter so much to you? She was looking at him now, really looking. You saw a ring. So what? Lots of people have rings. Adrian didn't answer right away. He took a turn, shifted lanes, watched the rain. Because I loved her, he said finally. Or I think I did. I don't remember her. I was too young. But my whole life I've had this... He stopped, tried again. There's this hole, right in the center of everything. And I didn't even know it was there until tonight. And now I can't stop feeling it. Mira went quiet. My mom never talked about my father, she said after a moment. Never. Not once. I asked when I was a kid and she'd shut down, like the question hurt her. So I stopped asking. She paused. But she kept that ring, wore it every single day, even when we had nothing, even when we were selling everything we owned just to make rent. She never sold that ring. Adrian's chest felt tight. What's wrong with her, he asked. You said she's sick. Lung disease, pulmonary fibrosis, progressive. The doctors say she's got maybe a year, maybe less. Mira's voice went flat, the way people's voices do when they've said the same terrible thing too many times. She needs a transplant, but the waiting list is years long, and even if we got one, the surgery costs... She laughed, a bitter sound. We can't afford it, obviously. I meant what I said. Adrian didn't look at her. Couldn't. I'll cover it, all of it. Why? Because if she's who I think she is... He stopped. Because I owe her 30 years. They drove deeper into the south side, the neighborhood's changing. Fewer lights, more boarded windows. Streets that hadn't seen city maintenance in a decade. Adrian's car stood out like a spaceship. Turn here, Mira said. He turned. They pulled up in front of a 3-story apartment building that looked like it was held together by sheer stubbornness. Peeling paint, cracked steps. A front door that probably didn't lock. Adrian parked, turned off the engine. The rain drummed on the roof. Last chance to back out, Mira said. She wasn't joking. I'm not backing out. She studied his face, then nodded. Okay, but if you upset her, if you make her condition worse, I will personally destroy you. I don't care how much money you have. Fair. They got out. Adrian followed her up the steps, through the door, into a hallway that smelled like mildew and old cooking oil, up 2 flights of stairs. The carpet was worn through in places, showing the concrete underneath. Mira stopped in front of apartment 3C. Her hand hesitated on the doorknob. She's going to be scared, Mira said quietly. Just try to remember that. Before Adrian could ask what that meant, Mira opened the door. The apartment was small, tiny, really. A combination living room and kitchen, 1 bedroom visible through an open door. Furniture that had been cheap 10 years ago and was now just sad. But it was clean, organized. Someone had tried to make it a home. A woman sat in an armchair by the window. Late 50s, maybe early 60s. Thin, too thin. Oxygen tubes in her nose, connected to a tank beside the chair. Dark hair threaded with gray, and on her right hand, 4th finger. The meteorite ring. She looked up as they entered, saw Mira first, and her face started to form a smile. Then she saw Adrian. The smile died. Every drop of color drained from her face. No, she whispered. The word came out choked, terrified. No, no, get out, get out. Mom, Mira started forward. Get him out of here. Elena tried to stand, couldn't, fell back into the chair. Her breathing turned ragged. You promised you'd leave us alone. Adrian stood frozen. He'd imagined this moment 100 different ways on the drive over. Imagined tears, maybe. Anger, confusion, questions. He hadn't imagined fear. He hadn't imagined her looking at him like he was a monster. Elena, his voice came out rough. I don't know what you think. I know what you are. She was shaking now, her whole body trembling. The oxygen tank hissed. You came to me. You remember? You came with your money and your threats, and you told me to get rid of it. You called our baby it. I never... Adrian took a step forward. Elena flinched. He stopped. I never did that. I swear to you, I never... You sent those men. Her voice broke. When I said no, When I ran, you sent men to find me, to threaten me, to make sure I understood what would happen if I ever came back. Mom, stop. Mira was beside her now, trying to calm her down. You need to breathe. I had to disappear. Tears were streaming down Elena's face. I had to change my name, hide. I've been hiding for 30 years because of you. Adrian felt like he'd been punched in the chest. I didn't. Whoever told you that, whoever came to you, it wasn't me. I was 2 years old. Elena stared at him. Her breathing was getting worse. What? I was 2, Adrian repeated. His voice was shaking now too. 30 years ago, I was a toddler. I didn't know you existed until tonight, until Mira showed me her ring. That's not... Elena looked at Mira, back at Adrian. You're lying. I'm not. He pulled out his phone, pulled up his driver's license, held it out so she could see the birth date. Look, 1994, I'm 32. Whatever happened to you, whoever threatened you, it wasn't me. Elena stared at the screen. The oxygen tank hissed. Her breathing rattled. Then who... She couldn't finish. Her eyes went wide. Her hand clutched at her chest. Mom? Mira's voice went sharp with panic. Mom, what's wrong? Elena's face went gray. She tried to speak. Nothing came out. Then she collapsed. Adrian moved on pure instinct. He crossed the room in 3 strides, caught Elena before she hit the floor, checked her pulse, weak, thready. Her breathing was almost non-existent. Call 911, he snapped at Mira. I'm trying. Mira's hands were shaking so hard she could barely hold her phone. Adrian pulled out his own phone. Didn't dial 911. Dialed his personal physician instead. Dr. Rachel Voss answered on the second ring. Adrian, it's almost midnight. I need an ambulance at... He rattled off the address. Full cardiac team, respiratory specialists, someone who knows pulmonary fibrosis. And I need Northwestern Memorial on standby. Private room. Best doctors you can find. Do it now. What's going on? Now, Rachel. On it. He hung up. Looked at Mira, who was staring at him like he'd just performed magic. Is she... Mira's voice broke. Is she going to... She's breathing. Pulse is there. We just need to keep her stable until... Sirens. Already. That was impossible. That was what happened when you were Adrian Vale and you called your personal physician who had the mayor's cell number on speed dial. The ambulance crew arrived in under 4 minutes. Paramedics flooded the tiny apartment. Professional. Efficient. They had Elena on a gurney, on oxygen, IV in her arm, before Mira could even process what was happening. We're taking her to Northwestern Memorial, the lead paramedic said. Are you family? I am, Mira said. The paramedic looked at Adrian. I'm paying, Adrian said flatly. That makes me whatever I need to be. Let's go. The ambulance screamed through Chicago. Adrian rode in his own car, following. Mira sat beside him. Neither of them spoke. The city blurred past. His phone rang. His father. Adrian stared at the screen, declined the call. It rang again. His CFO. Declined. Again. His lawyer. Declined. He turned the phone off. Why are you doing this? Mira's voice was barely audible over the sirens ahead. Because she's yours, Adrian said, and you might be mine. Mira turned to look at him. You think I'm... The math lines up. The ring. The story. Yeah. He gripped the steering wheel. I think Elena was pregnant when someone pretending to be my family threatened her. I think she ran. I think she's been running for 30 years, and I think the people who did that to her... He couldn't finish. The rage building in his chest was too big for words. We're your family, Mira finished quietly. Yeah. They pulled up to Northwestern Memorial. The ambulance was already unloading. Adrian was out of the car before it fully stopped. Mira followed. Inside, the hospital moved like a machine. Elena was rushed through doors marked authorized personnel only. A doctor intercepted them, Dr. Voss, Adrian's physician, looking harried but focused. She's critical, Voss said without preamble. Acute respiratory failure on top of the underlying fibrosis. We're intubating now. She needs ICU, probably for several days. After that, she looked at Adrian. You said transplant? Whatever she needs. Transplant wait lists or I don't care about wait lists. Find a way. Voss stared at him, then nodded. I'll make calls. She disappeared. Adrian stood in the hallway. Mira stood beside him. Around them, the hospital hummed with controlled chaos. Nurses, doctors, machines beeping, someone crying in a room nearby. I don't understand, Mira said. Her voice sounded numb. 3 hours ago, I was serving duck breast to rich people. Now I'm... She gestured vaguely. What the hell is happening? I don't know. Adrian leaned against the wall. For the first time in years, he let himself look tired. But I'm going to find out. He pulled out his phone, turned it back on, ignored the flood of notifications, opened his contacts, found a name he hadn't called in 5 years. Marcus Chen, private investigator. The best in Chicago, completely ruthless. Adrian Vale, Marcus answered. Long time. I need you to investigate my father, Adrian said. Silence. Say that again? My father, James Vale. I need to know everything he did 30 years ago. Every business deal, every threat, every person he paid off or buried. I need to know who he sent after a woman named Elena Cole. And I need to know why. Adrian, I don't care what it costs. I don't care who you have to dig up. I want answers by tomorrow. Another pause. Then, you're serious. Dead serious. This could get ugly. I'm counting on it. Marcus exhaled. All right. Send me what you have. I'll start tonight. Adrian hung up, looked at Mira. You should go home, he said. Get some sleep. I'll stay here. I'm not leaving her. Mira, I'm not leaving. She met his eyes. You don't get to show up and take over. She's my mother. I've been taking care of her for 30 years. You've been here for 30 minutes. So no, I'm not going anywhere. Adrian looked at her, saw the steel underneath the fear, saw someone who'd been fighting alone for a long time and wasn't about to stop. He nodded. Okay. They sat. The hours crawled past. Midnight became 1 a.m., became 2 a.m. Nurses came and went. Dr. Voss returned once to say Elena was stable but still critical. They were doing everything they could. At 3 a.m., Mira fell asleep in the uncomfortable plastic chair. Adrian stayed awake, staring at nothing. At 4 a.m., his phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. Got something. You're not going to like it. Adrian stepped into the hallway, called him. Talk to me. Your father kept meticulous records, Marcus said, and he was an idiot for doing it. I found a ledger. Payments made to a man named Victor Strand, enforcer type. Worked for your family's legal firm doing their dirty work. What kind of dirty work? Said, the kind where people disappear when they become inconvenient. Marcus paused. 30 years ago, Victor Strand made a series of payments. All cash. All to various people around a woman named Elena Reyes. That was her name before she changed it to Cole. Landlords, neighbors, anyone who might have seen her or helped her. He was hunting her. Adrian's hand tightened on the phone. Why? Because she was pregnant with James Vale's grandchild, and James Vale didn't want complications. The hallway tilted. My father? Your father found out his son, your older half-brother, who died when you were 6 months old, got a girl pregnant. Elena Reyes. Your father considered her beneath the family, a problem to be solved, so he sent Victor Strand to solve it. Adrian couldn't breathe. What did Strand do? He impersonated your brother, showed up at Elena's apartment with cash and threats, told her to get an abortion or disappear. When she refused, he made it clear what would happen if she didn't vanish on her own. Marcus's voice went quiet. She ran, changed her name, spent 3 decades looking over her shoulder. And my father paid for all of it, covered it up. When your brother died 6 months later, car accident, official record says, there was no one left to contradict the story. No one except Elena. And she was gone. Adrian leaned against the wall, felt the cold tile against his forehead. Where's Strand now? Dead, heart attack, 8 years ago. And my father? Still alive, still powerful, still protected by about 15 layers of legal insulation. Marcus paused. Adrian, if you go after him, if you try to expose this, it's going to be war. He'll destroy you. Let him try. Think about your son. Adrian closed his eyes. Ethan, 7 years old, asleep in a penthouse, safe, protected, living in the same world that had destroyed Elena. I am thinking about him, Adrian said quietly. I'm thinking I don't want him growing up in a family that does this to people. He hung up, stood there in the empty hallway. Then he went back to the waiting room, sat down beside Mira, watched her sleep, and waited for the sun to rise. Dawn broke over Chicago with the kind of gray light that made everything look tired. Adrian hadn't moved from the waiting room chair. His suit was wrinkled. His tie hung loose around his neck. He'd given up on looking like a billionaire somewhere around 3 a.m. and now just looked like what he was, a man who'd watched his entire understanding of his family crumble in the span of 6 hours. Mira stirred beside him, her eyes opened, confused for a moment, then remembering. She sat up straight. Any news? Dr. Voss came by an hour ago. Your mother's stable. Still critical, but stable. They're keeping her sedated for now. Mira rubbed her face. I should call my work. Tell them I can't come in. You work at Marcello's? And 2 other places. Rent doesn't pay itself. She pulled out her phone, saw the time, winced. I'm supposed to open the coffee shop on State Street in 40 minutes. Don't. I can't just... I'll cover your wages. All 3 jobs. However long you need. Adrian looked at her. Your mother needs you. And I need... He stopped. I need to know if you're mine. The words hung in the air between them. Mira stared at him. You really think... I had Marcus pull birth records. Adrian pulled out his phone, showed her the email that had come through at 5 a.m. Mira Elena Cole, born November 14, 1995, at Cook County Hospital. Mother listed as Elena Cole. Father listed as unknown. Mira's face went pale. You investigated me? I investigated everyone. I need to know what happened. He put the phone away. My brother, my half-brother, technically, his name was David Vale. He died in a car accident when I was 6 months old, March 1995. You were born 8 months later. That doesn't mean... Elena has a meteorite ring identical to mine. My father gave me this ring when I turned 18, said it was important, but if he gave it to me, that means he had it, which means at some point it was with our family, not with Elena. Adrian's voice was steady, but his hands weren't. The only way she has that ring is if someone in my family gave it to her. And the only person who would have done that is David. Mira looked down at her own hands. My mother never talked about him. Never. I used to make up stories when I was a kid, that my father was a soldier who died in a war, or an astronaut, or... She laughed bitterly. Anything but the truth, which was that she was too scared to even say his name. We can do a DNA test, confirm it, and if it comes back positive, then what? You suddenly become my father. She shook her head. I'm 30 years old. I don't need a dad. I needed one when I was 7 and we were living in our car because Mom couldn't afford rent. I needed one when I was 15 and she got sick the first time and I had to drop out of school to take care of her. Where were you then? The accusation hit like a slap. Adrian took it. Deserved it. I didn't know, he said quietly. But you're right. That's not an excuse. It's all I have. Before Mira could respond, Dr. Voss appeared in the doorway. She's awake, Voss said, and she's asking for both of you. They followed her through the maze of corridors. The ICU was hushed, machines beeping in rhythm, nurses moving with practiced efficiency. Elena's room was at the end. Through the glass window, Adrian could see her propped up in bed, oxygen mask over her face, monitors tracking every heartbeat. She looked so small. Voss stopped them at the door. 5 minutes. She's weak. Don't agitate her. If her vitals spike, I'm pulling you out. Understood? They nodded. Inside, Elena's eyes tracked them as they entered. The oxygen mask muffled her voice, but Adrian could still hear the wariness in it. You came back. Where else would I go? Mira moved to her mother's side, took her hand carefully, avoiding the IV. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck. Elena's gaze shifted to Adrian. Fear flickered across her face, but not the pure terror from last night. This was something more complicated. You stayed. Yeah. Why? Adrian pulled up a chair, sat down. He was so tired he could barely think straight, but this was too important to mess up. Because I need to tell you something, he said, and you need to hear it. 30 years ago, someone came to you claiming to be from my family. They threatened you, told you to get rid of your baby. When you refused, they hunted you, made you disappear. Elena's breathing quickened. The monitors beeped faster. That person wasn't me, Adrian continued. I was 2 years old. But you're right. He was from my family. His name was Victor Strand. He worked for my father, and my father sent him to destroy you because you were pregnant with David's child. David? Elena whispered. The name came out like something precious and broken. You know about David. I know he was my half-brother. I know he died before I could remember him. And I know... Adrian's voice cracked. He forced himself to continue. I know my father had him erased from the family history, pretended he never existed, and he did the same thing to you. Tears spilled down Elena's face. David loved me. He said, he promised we'd be together, that his family would accept us. He gave me this ring. She touched the meteorite band with her free hand. He said it was proof that he was serious, that nothing would keep us apart. What happened? Mira asked softly. He went to tell his father about the baby, about us. He said it would be fine, that James might be angry at first, but he'd come around. Elena's voice turned hollow. 3 days later, a man showed up at my apartment. He looked like David, same height, same build, same voice. He had David's car, David's clothes, but his eyes, she shuddered. His eyes were dead, and he told me David had changed his mind, that the baby was a mistake, that I needed to fix it or there would be consequences. Strand, Adrian said. My father sent someone who could pass for David from a distance, someone who could convince you that David had turned on you. I didn't believe him at first. I tried calling David. His number was disconnected. I went to his apartment. Someone else lived there. It was like he'd vanished. Elena closed her eyes. Then I got a letter. Typed, not handwritten. It said if I told anyone about the baby, if I tried to contact the family, they'd make sure I regretted it. There were details. Things only someone watching me would know. Where I worked, where my mother lived, what route I took home. Mira's hand tightened on her mother's. Mom. So I ran. Changed my name. Moved to a different state. Worked cash jobs. When you were born, Elena looked at Mira. I registered you under my new name. Put Father Unknown on the birth certificate because I was too terrified to write the truth. Did you ever find out what happened to David? Adrian asked. I saw his obituary 6 months after you were born. Elena's voice broke. Car accident. Single vehicle. They said he lost control on Lakeshore Drive, but I always wondered if it was really an accident, Adrian finished. The room went silent except for the steady beep of monitors. Adrian pulled out his phone. Showed Elena the email from Marcus. This is everything my investigator found. Payments made to Victor Strand. Dates that match up with when he would have approached you. A paper trail that leads directly back to my father. Elena stared at the screen. James did this. Yeah. And you... She looked at Adrian, really looked at him. You didn't know. Not until last night, when Mira mentioned the ring. Adrian's hands were shaking again. He clasped them together. My father told me your name once. When I was 18, he said David had gotten mixed up with a girl who tried to trap him, that she claimed to be pregnant but disappeared when the family asked for proof. He made you sound like a liar, a con artist. Yeah. Adrian felt sick saying it out loud. I believed him. I had no reason not to. He's my father. He raised me. I thought... He stopped, started over. I built my entire life on the idea that people are users, that you have to protect yourself because everyone wants something. And now I'm finding out the person I should have been protecting myself from was him. Elena reached out. Her hand trembled, but she managed to touch Adrian's arm. You look like him, she said softly. Like David. Same eyes. Same way of holding yourself, like you're carrying weight no one else can see. Did he? Adrian's voice came out rough. Did he know about the baby before he died? I don't know. I never got to tell him. Elena withdrew her hand. The last time we spoke, I told him I had something important to share. He said he'd come see me after he talked to his father. He sounded happy, excited. Her face crumpled. And then he never came back. The monitors beeped. Faster, sharper. Dr. Voss stuck her head in. That's enough. Out. Now. They stood. Mira squeezed her mother's hand. I'll be right outside. Adrian started to follow, but Elena's voice stopped him. Adrian. He turned. Thank you, she whispered, for believing me. He nodded, couldn't trust himself to speak. Left the room before the tears came. In the hallway, Mira leaned against the wall, arms wrapped around herself. That man, Strand, he destroyed her, she said. She spent 30 years afraid, jumping at shadows. We moved 17 times before I turned 18. 17. Every time she thought someone was watching us, we packed up and left. I thought she was paranoid. I thought, her voice broke. I thought she was just scared of everything. I didn't know she had a reason. Adrian wanted to say something comforting, something about how it wasn't her fault, how she couldn't have known. But the words felt hollow. What comfort was there in any of this? His phone rang. He glanced at the screen. His father. Again. This time he answered. Adrian. James Vale's voice came through smooth, controlled, the voice of a man who'd spent his life getting what he wanted. Where are you? You missed the board meeting. Your CFO said you turned off your phone last night, and I know what you did, Adrian said. Silence. What are you talking about? Elena Reyes, David's girlfriend, the woman you terrorized into disappearing because she was pregnant with your grandchild. The pause that followed was half a second too long. Adrian, I don't know what you think you've discovered, but I have the payment records. Victor Strand's ledger, every dollar you paid him to hunt her down. Adrian's voice was ice. I have her testimony. I have timelines. I have proof. You have nothing. James's tone shifted. Not smooth anymore. Sharp. A sick woman's delusions and the word of a PI who'd say anything for a paycheck. You try to make this public, I'll bury you. Try it. Think about Ethan. Think about your company. You want to throw all that away over some woman who, she's not some woman, she's the mother of my half-sister. Adrian looked at Mira as he said it, saw her eyes widen. And you destroyed her life because she didn't fit your image of what this family should be. David was weak, James snapped. He would have ruined himself over that girl. I did what was necessary to protect this family, to protect you. By terrorizing a pregnant woman? By making her spend 30 years in hiding? By ensuring you had the life you deserved? The opportunities? The empire? Everything I built was built on lies. Adrian's hand gripped the phone so hard the case cracked. And I want no part of it. You're upset. You're not thinking clearly. Come home. We'll discuss this rationally. I'm done discussing anything with you. Stay away from Elena. Stay away from Mira. If I find out you've so much as looked in their direction, I'll burn everything you've built to the ground, starting with Vale Industries. You can't. Adrian hung up, turned off the phone, dropped it in a nearby trash can. Mira stared at him. You threw away your phone. I'll get another one. He ran his hands through his hair. Your mother needs a transplant. Dr. Voss said the waiting list is years long, but there are other options. Medical tourism, private facilities. I'll make calls, find something. You called me your half-sister. Adrian stopped, looked at her. Yeah, he said. I did. We don't know that for sure. We haven't done the test. We don't need to. Adrian met her eyes. I know, the ring, the timeline, the way Elena looked at me and saw David. It all fits. And even if the DNA says different, even if I'm wrong, I don't care. You've been taking care of her alone for 30 years. You're not alone anymore. Mira's face did something complicated. Anger and relief and fear all mixed together. I don't know how to do this, she said. How to have a brother. How to let you help. I've been on my own so long. Then we'll figure it out together. Adrian's voice gentled. Neither of us is good at this. But maybe that's okay. Before Mira could respond, Dr. Voss returned. Her oxygen levels are stabilizing, Voss reported. But she's not out of the woods. The fibrosis is advanced. Without a transplant, she's got months at best. Maybe weeks. What are our options? Adrian asked. The standard waiting list through UNOS, United Network for Organ Sharing, could take years. We can register her as high priority, but even then... Voss shook her head. There are too many people waiting and not enough donors. What about private facilities? Other countries? Medical tourism is risky. Quality control issues, post-op care complications. I wouldn't recommend it. Then what do you recommend? Voss hesitated. There's a program at Johns Hopkins. Experimental. They're working with stem cell therapy to regenerate damaged lung tissue. It's not a cure, but it could buy her time, maybe years, maybe longer. Get her in. Adrian, it's experimental. The success rate. Get her in, he repeated. I don't care what it costs. I don't care what strings you have to pull. She needs a chance. Give her one. Voss studied his face, then nodded. I'll make the calls. She left. Adrian sagged against the wall. Every cell in his body screamed for sleep. He ignored it. You need to go home, Mira said. See your son. Get some rest. What about you? I'll stay with Mom. Someone should be here when she wakes up again. Mira, I'm not leaving her. That steel was back in her voice. You can throw money at this all you want, but I'm the one who's been here. I'm the one she knows. So you go home, get cleaned up, take care of your kid. I'll call you if anything changes. Adrian wanted to argue. Wanted to say he could do both, could handle everything. But the truth was he'd been awake for almost 24 hours, and he was running on fumes. Give me your number, he said. They exchanged phones. He put his information in hers. She did the same. Call me if she needs anything, Adrian said. Anything at all. I don't care what time it is. I will. He started to leave. Stopped. Turned back. For what it's worth, he said, I'm glad I found you. Both of you. Mira's expression softened slightly. Ask me again in a week when this is less insane. Deal. Adrian left the hospital. The morning was fully bright now, sunlight cutting through the clouds. His car was where he'd left it, a parking ticket tucked under the wiper. He grabbed the ticket, got in, drove. The city looked different, or maybe he looked at it differently. He'd driven these streets 1,000 times and never noticed how many people were struggling, how many lives were built on desperation, how many Elena Coles were out there hiding from something too big to fight. His penthouse felt empty when he walked in. The nanny, Mrs. Chen, he'd hired her 2 months ago and could barely remember her first name, looked up from the kitchen where she was making breakfast. Mr. Vale, we weren't expecting you until… Where's Ethan? Still asleep. Should I wake him? No, let him sleep. Adrian loosened his tie. Take the day off, paid. I'll handle things from here. Mrs. Chen blinked. Are you sure? Yeah. She gathered her things, left. The apartment went silent. Adrian walked to Ethan's room, pushed the door open quietly. His son lay tangled in dinosaur print sheets, one arm flung over his head, mouth slightly open. 7 years old, dark hair like Adrian's, eyes like David's, apparently. Adrian had never known his half-brother, never seen pictures. His father had erased every trace of David from the family home, from the records, from existence. But looking at Ethan now, Adrian wondered what David had been like. If he'd been kind, if he'd been strong, if he'd loved Elena enough to stand up to their father, and if that's what got him killed. The thought settled like ice in Adrian's gut. He closed Ethan's door, went to his own room, stripped off the wrinkled suit, stood in the shower, and let water hot enough to hurt wash over him. His father had done this, had destroyed Elena, had maybe, probably, killed David. And Adrian had spent his whole life trusting him, learning from him, becoming him. The nausea hit suddenly. Adrian turned, vomited, into the toilet. Nothing came up but bile. He dry heaved until his ribs ached. When it passed, he sat on the bathroom floor, shaking. He'd built Vale Industries using his father's methods. Ruthless negotiation, calculated risks, eliminating competition before it became a threat. He'd thought he was being smart, strategic. Now he wondered how many lives he'd crushed along the way. How many people had looked at him and seen the same monster Elena saw when she looked at his family. His phone. The new one he'd grabbed from a drawer buzzed. Text from Marcus. Found something else. You need to see this. Can you meet? Adrian pulled himself up, got dressed. Jeans and a t-shirt. No suit. He was done with suits for a while. He checked on Ethan one more time, still sleeping. He left a note on the kitchen counter. Out for a few hours. Call if you need anything. Dad. Outside, the city hummed with morning traffic. Adrian drove to Marcus's office in Wicker Park. A converted warehouse, 3rd floor, no sign on the door. Marcus didn't advertise. Inside, Marcus sat surrounded by computer monitors and stacks of files. He looked like he hadn't slept either. "Coffee?" Marcus offered. "Please." Marcus poured 2 cups from a machine that looked older than Adrian, handed one over. "What did you find?" Adrian asked. Marcus pulled up a file on his computer. "I went deeper into your father's records. Found correspondence between James Vale and a lawyer named Richard Moss. They were discussing David's estate after his death." "What about it?" "Your brother had a will, drafted 3 weeks before he died. In it, he left everything to Elena Reyes, every penny. He also had a letter addressed to your father. The lawyer kept a copy." Marcus turned the monitor so Adrian could read. The letter was short, typed on Vale Industries letterhead. "Father, by the time you read this, I'll have told you about Elena and our child. I know you won't approve. I know you'll try to stop me. That's why I'm writing this now, while I still have the courage. I love her. I love this baby. And I'm going to build a life with them whether you accept it or not. You raised me to believe family is everything. Well, this is my family now, not the company, not the name, them. If something happens to me, if you try to interfere, I've made sure Elena and the baby will be taken care of. My will is filed. My lawyer has instructions. You can't erase them the way you erase everything else you don't like. I hope you'll understand someday. I hope you'll meet your grandchild and see that love matters more than legacy. But if you can't, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm not the son you wanted, but I'm done trying to be." David Adrian read it twice, 3 times. "He knew," Adrian said. "He knew your father would come after them. And he tried to protect them anyway." Marcus pulled up another document. "But here's where it gets worse. 3 days after David died, Richard Moss was disbarred. Ethics violations. Turns out he'd been embezzling from clients, lost his license, his firm, everything. My father set him up. Can't prove it, but the timing is suspicious as hell. And without a lawyer to execute the will, it went into probate. Your father, as next of kin, contested it, claimed David wasn't of sound mind when he drafted it. The will was thrown out. So Elena never got anything. Not a penny. Your father made sure of it." Marcus leaned back. "Adrian, this goes deep. Your father didn't just scare Elena off. He systematically destroyed every protection David tried to put in place. He erased your brother's entire legacy." Adrian set down the coffee. His hands were shaking too much to hold it. "I need copies of everything," he said. "Every document, every email, every payment record, all of it." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to make sure my father can't hurt anyone else." Marcus nodded, started burning files to a thumb drive. Adrian's new phone rang. "Mira." He answered immediately. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Mom's awake. She's asking for you. I'm on my way." He grabbed the thumb drive from Marcus, drove back to Northwestern Memorial faster than was probably legal. Didn't care. At the hospital, Mira met him outside Elena's room. "She wants to talk," Mira said. "About David. About everything. I think she needs to tell someone who'll understand." Adrian nodded, went inside. Elena looked slightly better, still pale, still fragile, but her eyes were clearer. "You came back," she said. "I'll always come back." Adrian sat down. "Mira said you wanted to talk." Elena nodded. "I need to tell you about him. About David. She stopped. "Before I run out of time." "You're not running out of time. Dr. Voss is getting you into Johns Hopkins. Stem cell therapy. It'll help." "Maybe. Maybe not." Elena managed a weak smile. "But either way, I need you to know who your brother was. Because he was the best person I ever knew." So she told him. She told him about meeting David at a charity event where she was working coat check, how he'd stayed after everyone left, helping her clean up, how he'd asked her out and she'd said no because she knew he was for money and she was nobody, how he'd kept asking until she finally said yes. She told him about their first date, a hot dog stand on Navy Pier. David had insisted on the cheapest, most normal date possible because he wanted her to know he didn't care about impressing her with money, how they'd talked for hours, how he'd made her laugh. She told him about the night David gave her the meteorite ring, how he'd explained that it was forged in space, billions of years old, and had traveled unimaginable distances to land on Earth. How he said that's what their love felt like, something that had crossed impossible odds to exist. She told him about the day she found out she was pregnant, how terrified she'd been, how David had cried when she told him, and she'd thought they were tears of horror until he'd kissed her and said he'd never been happier. And she told him about the last conversation they'd had, David calling to say he was going to tell his father everything, that he was done hiding, that they were going to be a real family. He sounded so sure, Elena whispered. So ready. I tried to warn him, tried to say maybe we should wait, plan it out more carefully, but he said waiting was just another word for being afraid, and he was done being afraid. That was 3 days before Strand showed up? Adrian asked. Yeah. 3 days before my entire world ended. Elena looked at the meteorite ring on her finger. I never took it off, even when I had nothing else. Even when I thought about selling it just to eat, I couldn't. It was the only proof I had that it was real, that he loved me. Adrian pulled the matching ring off his own finger, held it up. He loved you, Adrian said. Everything my father did, everything Strand did, it was because David loved you enough to stand up to them. That's why they had to destroy it. Because love like that is dangerous to people like my father. Elena reached out, touched Adrian's ring. You have his eyes, she said softly. Did I tell you that already? Yeah. I wish he could have met you. He would have loved having a little brother. Something in Adrian's chest cracked. I wish I could have met him too, he said. I wish I could have known him. I wish... He stopped. I wish my father hadn't taken him from all of us. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Elena said, Mira told me what you did. Paying for treatment, Johns Hopkins, everything. It's nothing. It's not nothing. It's... Her voice broke. It's more than anyone has ever done for me, and I don't know how to accept it. I don't know how to let you help without feeling like I'm being bought or controlled or... You're not, Adrian said firmly. This isn't about control. This isn't about obligation. This is about... He struggled for the words. This is about trying to fix something that should never have been broken. I can't bring David back. I can't give you the last 30 years, but I can give you this. A chance. That's all I want to do. Elena studied his face. You really mean that? Yeah. Then I'll accept, for Mira. She deserves to stop fighting alone. So do you. Elena smiled. It was small and sad and genuine. Maybe, she said. Maybe we all do. The DNA test came back 3 days later. Adrian sat in his office at Vail Industries, the envelope unopened on his desk. He'd had it couriered over that morning. Mira had done her test at the hospital. Simple cheek swab, results in 72 hours. Now those results were here, and Adrian couldn't make himself open the envelope. His assistant knocked. Mr. Vail, the board is waiting. Tell them to start without me. Sir, it's the quarterly review. You always... I said start without me. He didn't look up. And hold my calls. The assistant retreated. The door clicked shut. Adrian picked up the envelope. Put it down. Picked it up again. What if he was wrong? What if the timeline was coincidence? The ring was coincidence. Everything was just a series of tragic accidents that looked like conspiracy. What if Mira wasn't his sister? The thought shouldn't have hurt as much as it did. He'd known her for 3 days. 3 days wasn't enough time to build anything real. Except he kept thinking about the way she'd sat in that hospital waiting room, exhausted and terrified, but refusing to leave her mother. The way she'd looked at him when he offered to help. Like she wanted to believe him, but had been disappointed too many times to trust easily. He thought about Ethan, who'd asked this morning why Daddy seemed sad. Adrian had tried to explain and given up halfway through, because how do you tell a 7-year-old that his grandfather might be a murderer? He opened the envelope. The word swam. Medical jargon. Percentages. Genetic markers. He scanned down to the conclusion. Probability of half-sibling relationship. 99.97%. Adrian's hands went numb. She was his sister, David's daughter. His niece, technically, but they were close enough in age that sister felt more accurate. Half-sister. Same father, or rather, his father and David's father were the same person, which made David his half-brother, which made Mira his half-niece, but genetics were complicated and his brain was too full to work it out properly. The point was, family, real, biological, undeniable family. He picked up his phone, called Mira. She answered on the second ring. Did you get it? Yeah. And? 99.97%? Silence. Then, oh, yeah. More silence. Adrian could hear hospital sounds in the background. Beeping machines, distant voices. I don't know what to do with this, Mira said finally. I don't know what I thought. That maybe it would come back negative and this would all just be some weird coincidence and I could go back to my normal life. Do you want that? I don't know. My normal life sucks. 3 jobs, no health insurance, watching my mom die slowly because we can't afford treatment. Her voice went flat. But at least it was mine. At least I understood it. This, you, the money, the family drama, I don't understand any of this. Neither do I, Adrian admitted. I'm making it up as I go. That's not reassuring. You're supposed to be the billionaire genius who has everything figured out. I'm really not. Adrian leaned back in his chair, stared at the ceiling. I'm just a guy who found out 3 days ago that his entire life was built on lies. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just trying not to make it worse. Mira laughed. It sounded a little broken. We're a mess, aren't we? Completely. Mom wants to meet Ethan. She asked this morning, said if she doesn't have much time left, she wants to meet her grandson. Adrian's throat tightened. When? Whenever you're ready. No pressure. I know this is all happening fast. Tomorrow, Adrian said. I'll bring him tomorrow. They hung up. Adrian sat alone in his office, the DNA results in one hand, his phone in the other. Through the glass walls, he could see his employees working. Vail Industries hummed along like always, 14,000 people doing their jobs, generating revenue, building empires. And none of them knew their CEO was falling apart. His phone rang. His father. Adrian stared at the screen, declined. It rang again, same number. He answered this time. What? We need to talk. James Vail's voice was ice. In person, now. I'm busy. Adrian, I'm not asking. Get to my office in the next hour, or I'm calling an emergency board meeting and having you removed as CEO. You can't do that. I own 40% of the company. I have allies on the board. Watch me. A pause. 1 hour. The line went dead. Adrian sat there, anger building in his chest like pressure. His father wanted to play games? Fine. He'd play. He grabbed his jacket, walked past his assistant without a word, took the elevator down to the parking garage. His car was where he'd left it, still had the parking ticket from the hospital stuck to the dash. He threw it in the back seat and drove. James Vail's office was in the original Vail Industries building, a glass and steel tower in the loop. Adrian had his own office there too, 3 floors down. He hadn't been back since the night he met Mira. Security waved him through. Everyone knew who he was. The elevator ride to the top floor felt like ascending to a guillotine. His father's office took up half the floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Mahogany desk that probably cost more than most people's cars. Photographs on the walls. James shaking hands with governors, senators, CEOs. James at ribbon-cutting ceremonies. James accepting awards. Not a single photograph of David. Not one of Adrian either, now that he looked. Just James. Always James. His father stood by the windows, back turned. He didn't look around when Adrian entered. Close the door, James said. Adrian closed it. You've been busy, James continued, paying for that woman's medical care, moving her to Johns Hopkins. I heard you set up a trust fund for her daughter, very generous. How did you? I know everything that happens in this family. James turned. He looked older than Adrian remembered, grayer, more worn. Did you really think you could make moves like that without me finding out? I don't care if you find out. Clearly, James moved to his desk, sat down, gestured to the chair across from him. Sit. I'll stand. Sit. Down. Adrian stayed standing. James's jaw tightened. Fine. Be childish. We'll do this the hard way. He pulled out a folder, slid it across the desk. That's a psychiatric evaluation, commissioned by the board. It suggests you've been under considerable stress, making erratic decisions, showing signs of a breakdown. Adrian picked up the folder, flipped through it. This is fake. It's official, signed by Dr. Milton Greaves, chief psychiatrist at... I've never met Dr. Greaves. Details. James waved a hand. The point is, the board has concerns about your fitness to lead, about your judgment. And they've asked me to step in, temporarily, of course, until you've had time to recover. You're trying to push me out. I'm trying to save you from yourself. James stood, walked around the desk. You're throwing away everything we built. For what? A woman you don't even know? A daughter who's probably just after your money? She's my sister. You don't have a sister. You have a half-brother who died 30 years ago and a delusional woman who claims, I have DNA proof. Adrian pulled out his phone, showed his father the results. 99.97%. Mira is David's daughter, which makes her family, which makes Elena family, and you tried to destroy them. James barely glanced at the screen. So she's David's daughter. So what? That doesn't change anything. It changes everything. No, it doesn't. James's voice went cold. David was weak. He would have ruined this family with his sentimentality. I did what was necessary to protect our legacy, to protect you. You killed him. The words hung in the air. James's expression didn't change. That's a serious accusation. The car accident, single vehicle, no witnesses, 3 days after he told you about Elena. Adrian took a step forward. You had him killed. I had him scared straight. There's a difference. James returned to his desk, sat down. I sent someone to talk to him, to explain the consequences of his choices, to make him understand what he was throwing away. If he chose to drive recklessly afterward, that's on him. You're lying. I'm being honest. More honest than I've been with you about a lot of things. James folded his hands. David was always emotional, impulsive. When he found out I'd sent someone to talk to Elena, to offer her money to disappear, he got angry, said things he didn't mean, threatened to cut ties with the family. I tried to reason with him. He wouldn't listen. So you killed him. I did. Not kill him. James enunciated each word carefully. I had people follow him, make sure he didn't do anything stupid, but I didn't order his death. When the accident happened, I was devastated. He was my son. You erased him, every photo, every record. You pretended he never existed. Because keeping him around in photos, in memories, it would have raised questions. Questions I didn't want to answer. It was easier to move on, to focus on you. You were young enough to mold properly, to raise right. Adrian felt sick. Is that what I am? Your do-over? Your second chance to create the perfect son? You are the son who succeeded, the son who built an empire, the son who made this family proud. James leaned forward. And I'm not going to let you throw that away because you've developed a conscience. Too late. It's never too late. You end this. End your association with Elena and her daughter, and we move forward, together, stronger than before. And if I don't, then I remove you, take over the company, and make sure Elena Cole understands exactly what happens to people who threaten this family. The threat was clear, unmistakable. Adrian looked at his father, really looked at him, saw a man who'd spent his entire life accumulating power and would burn anything that got in his way, saw someone who'd killed, directly or indirectly, it didn't matter, to maintain control. Saw a stranger. You can't remove me, Adrian said quietly. I own 35% of the company. You own 40%. But the remaining 25% is split between board members who report to me, not you. You try to force me out, I'll fight, and I'll win. You're bluffing. Try me. James stared at him. You'd really destroy everything we built? Over them? You destroyed them first. I'm just making it right. There's no making this right. There's only survival, and you're choosing the wrong side. Maybe. Adrian turned toward the door, but at least I can live with my choice. Adrian. He stopped, didn't turn around. If you walk out that door, James said, we're done. No more second chances. No more family. You'll be on your own. I've been on my own my whole life, Adrian said. I just didn't realize it until now. He left. The elevator ride down felt like breaking the surface after being underwater too long. Adrian's hands shook. His heart raced. He'd just declared war on his own father. On the street, he stood in the cold air, trying to breathe. His phone rang. Marcus. Tell me you have good news, Adrian said. Define good. I found more evidence, a lot more. Emails, financial records, witness statements from people Victor Strand threatened. It's all here. Everything you need to prove what your father did. Can we go to the police? With what? A 30-year-old conspiracy? Most of the witnesses are dead or too scared to testify. Strand's dead. The statute of limitations on most of this has expired. Marcus paused. But there's another option. What? Go public. Media exposure. Court of public opinion. Your father can't bury this if everyone knows about it. Adrian closed his eyes. That would destroy Vail Industries, 14,000 employees, pension funds, investors. It would also destroy your father, which I thought was the goal. Not at the cost of innocent people's livelihoods. Then what do you want to do? Good question. What did he want? Justice. But justice for what? David was dead. Elena had lost 30 years. Mira had grown up without a father. There was no fixing any of that. But there was preventing it from happening again. I want control of the company, Adrian said. Complete control. I want my father out, and I want to make sure he can never hurt anyone else. That's going to take leverage. What have you got? Adrian thought about the evidence. The emails, the payment records, the witness statements. Enough, he said. I've got enough. He hung up, started walking, ended up at the hospital without meaning to. Muscle memory, maybe, or just the pull of the only place that felt real right now. Mira was in the cafeteria, picking at a salad that looked like it had been sitting there for hours. Hey, Adrian said. She looked up, saw his face. What happened? My father threatened to remove me as CEO if I don't cut ties with you and Elena. Oh. Mira put down her fork. What did you say? I told him to try it. Adrian, I'm not abandoning you, either of you. He can threaten all he wants. I'm not backing down. Mira stared at him. You're going to lose everything. Maybe, but I'll still have this. He gestured between them. Family. Real family. Not the fake corporate dynasty my father built on lies. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you worked 3 jobs to take care of your mother. I know you didn't give up even when everything was falling apart. I know you're stronger than anyone I've ever met. Adrian sat down across from her. And I know I want to be the kind of person who deserves to have you as a sister. Mira's eyes filled with tears. She looked away, wiping them quickly. Don't, she said. Don't make me cry in a hospital cafeteria. That's just cruel. Sorry. They sat in silence for a moment. Around them, the cafeteria hummed with quiet conversations. Doctors grabbing coffee, families looking exhausted. The normal chaos of a hospital. Mom's doing better, Mira said finally. Dr. Voss says the preliminary treatment is working. Her oxygen levels are up. They're still waiting on Johns Hopkins to confirm the stem cell trial, but it's looking good. That's great. Yeah. Mira picked up her fork again, put it down. She keeps asking about you, about David. She wants to know everything, what he was like, what your family was like. I think she's been carrying this for so long, and now that someone finally believes her, she needs to let it out. I'll come see her after I bring Ethan tomorrow. You're really bringing him? Yeah, unless you think it's too much too fast. I think it's insane. But everything about this is insane, so why not? Mira managed a small smile. What are you going to tell him? The truth? Or as much of it as a 7-year-old can handle. That he has an aunt he didn't know about, a grandmother, a family that's bigger than just us. And your father? I'm going to tell him that too. That his grandfather isn't who Ethan thought he was. That family isn't always blood, and blood isn't always family. Mira nodded slowly. Heavy stuff for a kid. He's tougher than he looks. He'd have to be, with you as a father. Adrian laughed. It felt strange. Good, but strange. Like a muscle he'd forgotten how to use. Come on, Mira said, standing. Mom's probably awake now. You should talk to her before tomorrow. Make sure she's okay with meeting Ethan. They took the elevator up. The ICU was quieter now, evening settling in. Elena's room was at the end of the hall, same as before. She was sitting up when they entered, still pale, still weak, but more alert than Adrian had seen her. The oxygen mask was off, replaced by a nasal cannula. Small victories. Adrian, she said. Her voice was stronger too. Mira said you were coming. Hope that's okay. More than okay. Elena gestured to the chair beside her bed. Sit, please. I wanted to talk to you about tomorrow, about Ethan. Adrian sat. Mira hovered by the door. I know this is a lot, Elena said. Meeting his grandmother for the first time, finding out his family is more complicated than he thought. If you think it's too much, it's not too much. He deserves to know you. Does he know about me? About any of this? Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first, figure out what we're going to say. Elena was quiet for a moment. Her fingers traced the meteorite ring absently. Tell him the truth, she said, that his grandfather, David, loved very much. That we were going to be a family, but people kept us apart. That I've missed him his whole life without knowing he existed. Her voice cracked. Tell him I'm sorry it took so long to find him. It's not your fault. I know, but I still feel it. Adrian understood that. Guilt didn't care about fault. I'll tell him, Adrian said, and I'll make sure he knows you wanted to be there, that you would have been there if you could. Elena reached out, took Adrian's hand. Hers was cold, fragile, but her grip was firm. Thank you, she whispered, for believing me, for helping, for being David's brother. He would have been so proud of you. The words hit harder than they should have. Adrian had to look away. I don't know about that. I spent most of my life becoming exactly what my father wanted. It took me 32 years to figure out that was wrong. But you figured it out. That's what matters. Some people never do. They sat like that for a while, Elena holding his hand, Mira watching from the doorway, the machines beeping steadily. Eventually, Elena's eyes started to droop. The medication, probably. She needed rest. We should go, Mira said softly. Let you sleep. Elena nodded, released Adrian's hand. Tomorrow, she said. I'll meet my grandson tomorrow. Tomorrow, Adrian agreed. Outside in the hallway, Mira turned to him. Thank you for doing this. I know it's complicated, with your father and the company and everything else. It's not complicated. It's simple. Your family. Family shows up. Even when it's hard? Especially when it's hard. Mira smiled. A real smile this time. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? I don't know. Someone cold, calculating, corporate, like the billionaires in movies. Disappointing? Surprising. She paused. In a good way. Adrian's phone buzzed. Text from his assistant. Emergency board meeting called for 8 a.m. tomorrow, your father's office. Mandatory attendance. So it was happening. His father was making his move. I have to go, Adrian said. Handle some things. But I'll be here tomorrow with Ethan. Morning, probably around 10. We'll be ready. Adrian left the hospital, got in his car, sat there for a minute trying to figure out his next move. His father wanted a fight? He'd get one. Adrian called his lawyer, then his CFO, then every board member he trusted, made the same pitch to each. Vote with me tomorrow or watch this company tear itself apart. Some agreed immediately. Others hesitated. A few refused. By midnight, Adrian had counted the votes. It was close. Too close. He drove home. The penthouse was dark. Mrs. Chen had put Ethan to bed hours ago. Adrian checked on his son, still asleep, still tangled in dinosaur sheets, and then collapsed on his own bed fully clothed. Sleep didn't come. He lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking about David, about the letter David had written to their father, about how David had tried to protect Elena and failed. Adrian wouldn't fail. He couldn't. At 5 a.m., he gave up on sleep, showered, put on his best suit, armor for the battle ahead. Woke Ethan gently. Hey, buddy, we need to talk. Ethan rubbed his eyes. Is it school time? Not yet, but I need to tell you something important about our family. He sat on the edge of Ethan's bed and told him. Kept it simple. Age appropriate. Your dad had a brother who died a long time ago. That brother had a daughter. Her name is Mira, and she's your aunt. Her mother, your grandmother, is sick, but she's getting better. We're going to meet them today. Ethan processed this with the stunning adaptability of children. So I have an aunt? Yeah. And a grandma? Yeah. Cool. Ethan sat up. Can we bring them something? Mom always said you should bring something when you visit people. The mention of Ethan's mother, Adrian's ex-wife, who'd left when Ethan was 2 because she couldn't handle Adrian's emotional distance, stung. But Ethan was right. Good idea. What should we bring? Flowers? Mom liked flowers. Flowers it is. They got ready. Adrian called Mrs. Chen, asked her to clear his schedule. Then he drove to the board meeting. The conference room was full when he arrived. Every board member present, his father at the head of the table, looking calm and controlled. Adrian took his seat. Let's begin, James said. The meeting was brutal. His father laid out his case. Adrian was unstable, making poor decisions, risking the company's reputation. The psychiatric evaluation was presented. Testimonies from executives who claimed Adrian had been erratic. It was all lies. Carefully constructed lies, but lies nonetheless. When it was Adrian's turn to speak, he stood. Everything my father just said is designed to remove me from a company I built. Why? Because I discovered he orchestrated the destruction of an innocent woman's life 30 years ago. Because I refused to cover it up. Because I chose family over corporate image. Murmurs around the table. That's absurd, James said. These are the delusions I was talking about. I have proof. Adrian pulled out the thumb drive Marcus had given him, plugged it into the conference room computer. Emails, payment records, witness statements, everything you need to know about what James Vale did to Elena Reyes and her daughter. He played it all. Every damning document, every piece of evidence. The room went silent. When it was over, Adrian looked directly at his father. You have a choice. Step down voluntarily or I release all of this to the media. Your reputation will be destroyed. The company will survive. I'll make sure of it. But you won't. James's face had gone white. You wouldn't. Try me. The board erupted. Arguments, accusations, chaos. Finally, the chairman called for order. We need a vote. All in favor of James Vale stepping down as chairman and board member? Hands went up. Adrian counted. 8 out of 12. They had it. James stood slowly, looked at Adrian with something that might have been hatred or might have been respect. Hard to tell. You win, James said quietly. For now. Not for now, forever. James left. The door closed behind him. Adrian sat down. His hands were shaking again. Meeting adjourned, the chairman said. Adrian, my office. We need to discuss transition plans. But Adrian was already leaving. He had a son waiting and a family to meet. At the hospital, Ethan held a bouquet of sunflowers, Elena's favorites, according to Mira. They rode the elevator up. Adrian's heart hammered. Mira met them at the door to Elena's room. Ready? She asked. Adrian looked at Ethan, who nodded eagerly. Ready, Adrian said. They went inside. Elena saw Ethan and burst into tears. You look just like him, she whispered. Just like David. Ethan, uncertain, offered the flowers. We brought these for you. Elena took them with shaking hands, pulled Ethan into a gentle hug, and Adrian stood there watching his son meet his grandmother for the first time, watching Mira smile, watching 3 decades of pain just start to heal. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was real. And for the first time in his life, that felt like enough. Elena held Ethan for a long time, longer than Adrian expected a 7-year-old to tolerate being hugged by a stranger. But Ethan didn't pull away. He stood there, awkward and patient, while this frail woman he'd never met cried into his shoulder. I'm sorry, Elena said finally, releasing him. She wiped her eyes. I didn't mean to. It's okay, Ethan said. He had that serious look he got sometimes, the one that made him seem older than 7. Dad said you've been sick. Are you getting better? I am, thanks to your father. Ethan looked at Adrian, then back at Elena. He's good at fixing things. He fixed my bike when the chain broke, and he fixed the heater in my room when it made that weird noise. Elena smiled. It was watery and fragile, but genuine. I bet he did. Mira stood by the window, arms crossed, watching. Her expression was complicated, relief mixed with something else. Maybe grief for all the years this moment should have happened and didn't. Adrian moved to stand beside her. You okay? I don't know. She gestured vaguely at Elena and Ethan, who were now discussing the sunflowers and whether they should go in the water pitcher or the plastic cup. It's a lot. We can leave if... No, don't. Mira's voice was firm. She needs this. She's been alone for so long. Let her have this. So they stayed. Ethan told Elena about school, about his friend Marcus, who collected rocks, about the science project he was building with circuits and LEDs. Elena listened like every word was treasure, like she was memorizing him. After an hour, Dr. Voss appeared in the doorway. Sorry to interrupt, but Elena needs rest. Her levels are good, but we don't want to push it. Elena's face fell. Already? We'll come back tomorrow, Adrian said, and the day after, as often as you want. Promise? Promise. Ethan hugged her goodbye without being asked. Elena held him tight again, eyes closed, like she was trying to seal the memory. In the elevator, Ethan was quiet. Adrian watched him, waiting. Dad? Yeah, buddy. Why didn't we know about them before? About Grandma Elena and Aunt Mira? Adrian had prepared for this question, had practiced answers in his head. But now, looking at his son's serious face, all the practiced words felt wrong. Because my father, your other grandfather, did something bad a long time ago. He kept them away from us, kept us away from them, and I didn't know until a few days ago. That's mean. Yeah, it is. Is that why we don't see him anymore? Grandpa James? Adrian's chest tightened. Ethan had noticed. Of course he had. Kids noticed everything. Yeah, that's why. Ethan processed this. Good. I didn't like him anyway. He always looked at me like I was a problem he had to solve. The observation was so accurate, it hurt. Adrian had spent 32 years under that same gaze and never articulated it as clearly as his 7-year-old son just had. You're not a problem, Adrian said. You're the best thing I ever did. Ethan smiled. Can we get pizza for lunch? I'm starving. Crisis processed. Moving on. The resilience of children. Pizza sounds great. They got pizza. Talked about normal things, school and bikes and whether Iron Man could beat Superman in a fight. Adrian's phone buzzed constantly. Board members, lawyers, executives all wanting to discuss the morning's meeting, but he ignored it. This was more important. Later, after dropping Ethan at home with Mrs. Chen, Adrian drove back to Vale Industries. The building felt different now, like something fundamental had shifted. His assistant met him at the elevator. Mr. Vale, the press is calling. Word got out about the board meeting. They want a statement. Tell them no comment. Sir, the rumors are spreading. People are saying there was a coup, that you forced your father out. If we don't control the narrative, I don't care about the narrative. Adrian kept walking toward his office. Let them speculate. I'm not making this a media circus. Inside his office, Marcus was waiting. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. We have a problem, Marcus said without preamble. Of course we do. Your father's making moves, quietly. He's been calling in favors, talking to investors. There's a rumor he's trying to organize a hostile takeover. Adrian sat down heavily. He doesn't have the capital. He doesn't need capital if he can convince enough shareholders that you're unstable, that the company's better off without you. Marcus pulled out his tablet, showed Adrian a series of messages. He's been busy, very busy. The messages were damning, James painting Adrian as emotionally compromised, making wild accusations, suggesting Adrian had been manipulated by Elena and Mira, that they were con artists who'd played on his grief. He's lying, Adrian said flatly, obviously. But lies don't need to be true to be effective. They just need to be believable. Marcus sat down across from him. You need to get ahead of this. Release the evidence. Show everyone what he did. That destroys the company. Maybe. Or maybe it destroys him and the company survives. You won't know until you try. Adrian stared at the tablet, at his father's words, at the careful construction of a narrative designed to erase Elena and Mira all over again. No, he said. No, I'm not doing this in public. I'm not turning their pain into a spectacle. Adrian stood. There's another way. What way? I'm going to talk to him one last time. Marcus looked at him like he'd lost his mind. Adrian, your father just tried to remove you from your own company. Talking isn't going to... I know, but I have to try. Adrian grabbed his jacket. If you won't listen, then I'll do it your way. But I owe it to David, to all of us, to at least attempt peace. You're making a mistake. Probably, but it's mine to make." He left before Marcus could argue further. James Vale's personal residence was in Lincoln Park, a mansion that took up half a block. Adrian had grown up there, had memories of running through those halls as a child, back when the world seemed simpler. Now it just looked like a monument to ego. The gate was closed. Adrian used his old access code. It still worked. He parked in the circular driveway and walked to the front door. His father answered before he could knock. "I was wondering when you'd show up," James said. "Can we talk?" "About what?" "How you betrayed me. How you chose strangers over family." "They're not strangers. They are family." James laughed. It was bitter. "You don't know the first thing about family. Family is loyalty. Family is protection. Family is doing what's necessary, even when it's hard." "Family is love," Adrian said quietly. "That's it. That's all it should be. Love." James said the word like it was poison. Love is what got David killed. Love made him weak, made him stupid, and you're following right in his footsteps. David wasn't weak. He was brave. He stood up to you. That takes more strength than I ever had. James turned away, walked into the house. Adrian followed. The interior was exactly as he remembered. Dark wood, expensive art. Everything carefully curated to project power. Not a single thing out of place. "You know what your problem is," James said, pouring himself a drink. "You think the world runs on fairness, on justice, on doing the right thing." He took a sip. "But the world runs on power, and you're giving yours away. I'm using it differently. You're wasting it on people who don't matter. They matter to me." "Because you're sentimental, just like David." James set down his glass. "I loved your brother, I did. But he was going to ruin himself. Throw away his future for a girl he'd known 6 months. A girl with no money, no connections, no value to this family. Elena had value. She was a person. She loved him. That should have been enough. Love doesn't pay bills. Love doesn't build empires. Love doesn't protect you when the world comes for you." Adrian looked at his father, really looked at him. Saw a man who'd spent his entire life accumulating things that didn't matter and lost the things that did. "Is that why Mom left?" Adrian asked. "Because you couldn't love her? Or because you didn't know how?" James's expression went cold. "Your mother left because she was weak, like David, like you're becoming. My mother left because you broke her, just like you broke Elena, just like you tried to break me." Adrian's voice stayed level. "But I'm not broken. I'm finally figuring out what actually matters." "And what's that? Some fantasy about family, about redemption?" James laughed again. "You can't fix this, Adrian. What's done is done. David is dead. 30 years are gone. No amount of money or good intentions will change that." "I know. But I can make sure it doesn't happen again. By removing me? By trying to destroy everything I built? By making sure Vale Industries stands for something besides profit. By helping people instead of crushing them." Adrian took a step closer. "I'm not here to destroy you. I'm here to ask you to stop. Stop the rumors. Stop trying to undermine me. Let me run the company the way it should have been run all along. And if I refuse, then I release everything. Every document, every email, every piece of evidence that proves what you did to Elena and David. And I let the world decide what that means for your legacy." James stared at him. For the first time, Adrian saw something that might have been fear in his father's eyes. "You'd really do that? Destroy your own father? You destroyed your own son. So yeah, I'd do it." They stood in silence. The house creaked. Somewhere a clock ticked. "I did what I thought was right," James said finally. His voice was different now, quieter, almost human. "I saw David throwing his life away. I saw him choosing wrong, and I tried to save him. You tried to control him. There's a difference." "Maybe." James sat down. He looked old suddenly, tired. "I never meant for him to die. The accident, that was real. I had people watching him, but I never wanted him dead. But you used his death, erased him, made sure Elena could never come forward with her story." "Yes." The admission hung in the air. "Why?" Adrian asked. "Why go that far?" Because I was ashamed. James's voice cracked. Because my son died hating me. Because I couldn't fix it, so I buried him. Pretended it never happened because that was easier than living with what I'd done. Adrian felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not understanding exactly, but maybe the beginning of it. You can't bury it anymore, Adrian said. Elena's alive. Mira exists. Ethan deserves to know his family, and I won't let you take that away. James nodded slowly. What do you want from me? Stop fighting me. Step back. Let me run the company without interference. And stay away from Elena and Mira. And if I do that, what then? Then your secrets stay secret. The evidence stays buried. You get to keep whatever reputation you have left. That's it? That's the deal? That's the deal. James stood, walked to the window, looked out at the manicured lawn. I built this company from nothing, he said. Spent 40 years making it what it is. And now I'm just supposed to hand it over? Walk away? You handed it over when you made me CEO. I'm just asking you to accept that. More silence. Then James turned. Fine, I'll stop. But Adrian, he paused. Don't make the same mistakes I did. Don't think you can save everyone. Sometimes people are beyond saving. I'm not trying to save everyone, just the people who matter. James nodded. Then I hope you succeed. I really do, because if you fail, if this all falls apart, you'll understand why I made the choices I made. Adrian left without another word. Outside, the air felt cleaner, lighter. He'd done it. Gotten his father to back down without destroying everything. It wasn't justice, not really, but it was something. His phone rang. Dr. Voss. Adrian. Good news. Johns Hopkins approved Elena for the stem cell trial. They want her there next week. Relief flooded through him. That's incredible. There's more. The trial is fully funded by research grants. You won't have to pay anything. I don't care about the money. I know, but Elena will. It means she's not beholden to you. She's getting treatment on her own merit as a patient who qualifies. That distinction matters to people like her. Dr. Voss was right. Elena would care about that, would need the dignity of it. Thank you, Adrian said. For everything. Just doing my job. Oh, and Adrian, Mira asked me to tell you they're moving her to a regular room tomorrow, out of ICU. She's improving faster than we expected. She's a fighter, clearly runs in the family. Adrian hung up, drove to the hospital. It was late, after visiting hours, but the night staff knew him by now, waved him through. Mira was asleep in a chair beside her mother's bed. Elena was awake, reading something on a tablet. She looked up when Adrian entered, smiled. You're here late, she whispered. Couldn't sleep, thought I'd check in. Liar, you came to tell me something. I can see it on your face. Adrian sat down. Johns Hopkins approved you. You leave next week. Elena's hand went to her mouth. Really? Really. Full trial, full treatment. Best doctors on the East Coast. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just get better. That's all I want. Elena reached out, took his hand. I'm sorry this is costing you so much. Your father, the company, all of it. It's not costing me anything. I'm gaining more than I'm losing. You're a terrible liar. Maybe, but I'm telling the truth about this. Adrian squeezed her hand gently. You and Mira, you're worth it, whatever it takes. Elena's eyes filled. David would have liked you. I know you never got to meet, but he would have been proud of the man you became. I'm not so sure about that. I spent most of my life being exactly what my father wanted. But you're not anymore. You changed. That's what matters. They sat quietly. Mira shifted in her sleep, mumbled something incoherent. Elena smiled at her daughter. She's been so strong, Elena said. Her whole life, taking care of me, never complaining. I don't know what I did to deserve her. You survived. You kept going. That's more than most people could do. I almost didn't. So many times I thought about giving up, about ending it. Elena's voice went distant. But then I'd look at Mira and think, I can't leave her alone. I can't let them win. So I kept going. One more day, then another. Then 30 years passed, and here we are. Here we are, Adrian echoed. Elena looked at him. What happens now, after Johns Hopkins, After I get better, if I get better. What do you want to happen? I want... She stopped, started again. I want to know my grandson. Really know him. I want Mira to have the family she never had. I want to stop running, stop hiding, just exist. Is that allowed? Can I just exist? You can do whatever you want. You're free now. My father won't come after you. I made sure of it. How? By making him understand what he'd lose if he tried. Elena studied his face. You're protecting me, like David tried to. Someone should have protected you 30 years ago. Better late than never. Thank you. The words were simple, but weighted with everything unsaid. 30 years of fear. 30 years of running. 30 years of wondering if anyone would ever believe her. Now someone did. Adrian stayed until Elena fell asleep. Then he carefully extracted his hand and stood. Mira stirred, opened her eyes. Hey, she whispered. What time is it? Late. You should go home, get real sleep. Can't. What if she needs something? The nurses are here. They'll call you. Mira sat up, rubbed her face. Did something happen? You look, I don't know, different. I talked to my father, made a deal. He's backing off. Just like that? Just like that. Adrian sat down in the chair Elena had vacated. And Johns Hopkins approved your mom. She starts the trial next week. Mira stared at him. Are you serious? Completely. Oh my... Her voice broke. She covered her mouth, shoulders shaking. Adrian waited, let her process. When she could speak again, Mira said, I keep waiting for something to go wrong, for this to all fall apart. It's too good, too fast. Things like this don't happen to people like us. Maybe they should, but they don't. In my experience, when things seem too good, it's because there's a catch. So what's the catch here? No catch, just family. Messy, complicated, imperfect family. That's all this is. Mira laughed. It was watery, but real. Family. I've never had that before. Not really. Just me and Mom against the world. Now you have more. You have me, Ethan, whatever this turns into. And what does it turn into? What happens after Johns Hopkins? After Mom gets better? We all just, have Sunday dinners, celebrate holidays together, play happy family? If we want to, or we figure out something else. There's no rule book for this. Mira was quiet. Then, I don't know how to do this. How to let people in. I've been keeping everyone at arm's length for so long. Then we'll figure it out together. Make mistakes. Apologize. Try again. Adrian managed a tired smile. I'm not good at this either. We can be bad at it together. That's the worst pep talk I've ever heard. I'm very tired. They sat in comfortable silence. Outside, Chicago hummed. Inside, machines beeped steadily. Elena breathed deeply, peacefully. Adrian? Mira said. Yeah? Thank you. For all of this. For believing Mom. For helping. For being my brother. Even though we barely know each other. We'll fix the barely knowing each other part. Promise? Promise. The next week passed in a blur. Elena was moved to a regular room, then discharged to a rehabilitation facility to build her strength before Johns Hopkins. Mira took a leave of absence from her jobs, paid leave, courtesy of Adrian, though he pretended the restaurant had offered it to avoid her pride getting in the way. Ethan visited Elena every day after school, brought drawings, told stories, asked a million questions about David, about what his grandfather was like, about everything. Elena answered patiently. Showed Ethan old photographs she'd kept hidden for 30 years. David as a teenager. David at graduation. David and Elena together, young and happy and unaware of what was coming. He looks like Dad, Ethan observed. He was like your dad in a lot of ways, Elena said. Smart, kind, stubborn when he believed in something. Was he good at fixing things? The best. He fixed my car once with duct tape and a paperclip. Ethan's eyes went wide. Really? Really? They laughed together. Adrian watched from the doorway, something warm and painful expanding in his chest. This was what family was supposed to be, this ease, this joy, this simple act of existing together. He'd never had it before. Never knew what he was missing. On Friday, the day before Elena was scheduled to fly to Baltimore for Johns Hopkins, Adrian got a call from Marcus. Your father left the country. Adrian went cold. What? Private jet. Filed a flight plan to the Cayman Islands this morning. He's gone. Why would he? Because he knew you'd eventually go public with the evidence. Because he'd rather disappear than face consequences. Marcus paused. He emptied several offshore accounts before he left. Took about 40 million. Left everything else. Adrian sat down. He ran. And honestly, good. It's cleaner this way. No trial, no media circus. He's just gone. What about the company? You're the CEO. The board backs you. Without your father stirring up trouble, everything stabilizes. Marcus's voice gentled. You won, Adrian. It's over. It didn't feel like winning. It felt like watching someone walk away from a burning building they'd set themselves. Keep monitoring, Adrian said. Make sure he doesn't try to come back. Will do. Adrian hung up, sat there processing. His father was gone. Just gone. After everything, James Vale had chosen exile over accountability, chosen running over fighting. Maybe that was its own form of justice. At the rehabilitation facility, he found Elena in the common room, teaching Ethan how to play chess. That's it, she was saying. The knight moves in an L shape, see? Ethan moved the piece carefully. Elena beamed. Perfect. You're a natural. Adrian waited until their game finished. Ethan won, barely, and was thrilled about it, before pulling Elena aside. Can we talk? She saw his expression. What's wrong? My father left the country, ran away. He's not coming back. Elena went very still. What does that mean for us? It means it's over. Really over. He can't hurt you anymore. Can't threaten you. He's just gone. Elena sat down slowly. Her hands shook. I've been afraid of him for 30 years, she said. 30 years? And now he's just gone? Yeah. I don't know how to feel about that. You don't have to feel anything. You just have to be free. Elena looked up at him. Tears streamed down her face. Not sad tears, something else. Something bigger. I'm free, she whispered. I'm actually free. Mira appeared in the doorway, saw her mother crying, saw Adrian, went on alert. What happened? James Vale left the country, Adrian said. He's gone. It's over. Mira looked between them, processing. Then she started crying too. They held each other, Elena and Mira, and cried for everything they'd lost and everything they'd finally found. Adrian stepped back, gave them space. This moment was theirs. Ethan tugged on his sleeve. Dad, why is everyone crying? Because sometimes people cry when they're happy, buddy. That's weird. Yeah, it kind of is. The next morning, Adrian drove Elena, Mira, and Ethan to O'Hare. The flight to Baltimore left at noon. At the gate, Elena hugged everyone, held on tight. I'll call every day, she promised. Let you know how it's going. You better, Adrian said. She turned to Ethan. Take care of your dad for me, okay? Make sure he doesn't work too hard. I will, Ethan said seriously. Then Elena and Mira were through security, waving one last time before disappearing toward their gate. Adrian and Ethan stood there, watching them go. She's coming back, right? Ethan asked. Yeah, she's coming back. Good. I like having a grandma. Me too, buddy. Me too. They walked back to the car. The sky was gray, threatening snow. Winter in Chicago. Adrian had always hated winter, but today it felt different. Like the cold was just part of the cycle. Like spring would come eventually. His phone buzzed. Text from Mira. Mom's already nervous about flying. She's gripping the armrest like it's going to save her life. This is going to be a long flight. Adrian smiled, texted back. Tell her she's survived worse. 3 dots appeared. Then, I did. She laughed. Thank you for this, for everything. That's what family does. I'm still getting used to that. Me too. At home, Adrian made Ethan lunch. They ate together, talked about nothing important. School, friends, whether penguins could fly if they really wanted to. Normal things, safe things, the things that mattered most. 6 months changed everything and nothing. Adrian learned this slowly, in pieces. Change didn't announce itself with fanfare. It crept in through phone calls at odd hours, through Ethan asking when Aunt Mira was visiting again, through the empty chair at board meetings where his father used to sit. Elena's treatment at Johns Hopkins was working. Not miraculously, there were no miracles, just science and stubbornness and Elena's refusal to die before she'd made up for lost time. The stem cells were regenerating damaged tissue. Her oxygen levels improved. The doctors used words like promising and unprecedented response, and Mira called every week with updates that made her voice crack with something between hope and terror. She walked today, Mira said one Tuesday in March, all the way down the hall and back without stopping. That's incredible. She cried after, said she forgot what it felt like to breathe without it hurting. Mira paused. Adrian, what if this actually works? What if she actually gets better? Then she gets better, and we figure out what comes next. I don't know how to plan for next. I've spent my whole life planning for worst-case scenarios. Maybe it's time to try something different. Mira laughed. You make it sound easy. It's not, but we're doing it anyway. They were. Badly, sometimes. Ethan had nightmares about people taking Elena away. Mira had panic attacks when her phone rang unexpectedly. Adrian caught himself checking the news obsessively for mentions of his father, even though Marcus assured him James was settled in the Caymans and showed no signs of returning. But they were doing it. In April, Elena was cleared to leave Johns Hopkins. Not cured, the doctors were careful about that word, but stable. Improved. Capable of living something close to a normal life with continued monitoring and medication. Where do you want to go? Adrian asked when Mira called with the news. What do you mean? When you leave Baltimore. Where do you want to go? Back to Chicago, somewhere new? Your choice. Silence. Then, you're really asking us what we want? Yeah, why wouldn't I? Because people don't... Mira stopped, started over. People usually tell us what to do, what's practical, what makes sense for everyone else. Nobody asks what we want. I'm asking. More silence. Adrian could hear Mira breathing, could picture her processing this small, impossible thing. Mom wants to see the lake house, Mira said finally. You mentioned it once, in Wisconsin. She keeps talking about it, about water and trees and quiet. Then that's where we'll go. Adrian, we can. I own it. Nobody's using it. It's yours if you want it. For how long? As long as you need. That's not... You can't just give us a house. I'm not giving it to you. I'm letting you use it. There's a difference. Adrian switched the phone to his other ear. Mira, I have 3 houses I never visit. The lake house just sits there. Let it be useful. Let your mom recover somewhere peaceful. What's the catch? No catch. Just let us visit sometimes. Let Ethan come up on weekends. Let it be a place where family happens. The words still felt strange in his mouth. Family. Like a language he was learning to speak. Okay, Mira said. Okay. We'll try it. They moved in on a Saturday in late April. Adrian and Ethan drove up with them, cars packed with belongings that Mira insisted on bringing even though the house was fully furnished. Elena sat in the passenger seat of Adrian's car, oxygen tank beside her. Insurance, the doctor said. She probably wouldn't need it much longer. And watched the landscape change from city to trees. I forgot there was this much green in the world, she said. Wait until you see the lake. The house sat on 2 acres, surrounded by pine trees and overlooking Lake Michigan. Adrian's mother had bought it years ago, back when she still thought she could save her marriage by creating places to escape. She'd been wrong about the marriage, but right about the house. It was peaceful in a way that made the city feel like a distant memory. Elena cried when she saw it. It's too much, she said. Adrian, this is too much. It's a house. It's just sitting here. Use it. But, Mom, Mira cut in, just say thank you and let us have this. Elena looked at her daughter, then at Adrian, then at the house with its wide porch and floor-to-ceiling windows. Thank you, she whispered. They spent the day unpacking. Ethan found a frog by the lake and insisted on showing everyone. Mira discovered the kitchen had better equipment than any restaurant she'd worked at and immediately started planning elaborate meals. Elena sat on the porch, wrapped in blankets even though it wasn't cold, and just breathed. Adrian watched them settle in, watched the tension slowly leave their shoulders, Watched them realize this wasn't temporary, wasn't a trick, was just a place they were allowed to exist. Dad? Ethan appeared at his elbow. Can we stay for dinner? We weren't planning to, please? Aunt Mira said she's making pasta, the kind with the cheese inside. Adrian looked at Mira, who shrugged. I made too much. Might as well stay. So they stayed. Dinner was chaotic. Ethan talked nonstop about school, about his friend Marcus's rock collection, about the science fair where his LED circuit project won second place. Mira told stories about terrible customers at the restaurant, about the regular who always ordered decaf but got angry if it didn't taste exactly like regular coffee. Elena mostly listened, smiled, occasionally added details that made everyone laugh. It felt normal. Startlingly, impossibly normal. After dinner, after Ethan fell asleep on the couch mid-cartoon, Adrian stepped out onto the porch. The lake stretched dark and vast, reflecting stars. Elena joined him, moving slowly but steadily. No oxygen tank, just her. He's a good kid, she said. Yeah, he is. David would have loved him, would have loved this. She gestured at the house, the lake, the whole peaceful, impossible thing they'd built. He always wanted this. Family, connection, something real. I wish I could have known him. You're like him in ways that matter, the good ways. Elena leaned against the railing. He was stubborn, believed in people even when they disappointed him, thought love could fix things that were broken. Can it? Sometimes. Not always. But sometimes that's enough. They stood in comfortable silence. An owl hooted somewhere in the trees. I'm scared, Elena said quietly. Of what? That this won't last. That I'll wake up and it'll all be gone. That I'm going to lose this the way I lost everything else. Adrian understood that fear, carried his own version of it. I can't promise it'll last forever, he said. I can't promise nothing will go wrong, but I can promise I'm not going anywhere. Whatever happens, good or bad, we're in this together now. You barely know us. I'm learning, we all are. Elena smiled. It was sad and hopeful and real. Thank you, she said, for giving me this, for believing me when no one else did, for being family. You don't have to thank me for that. I do. Because not everyone would have done what you did. Not everyone would have chosen this. It wasn't really a choice. You showed me the ring and everything I thought I knew fell apart. I followed where that led. And where did it lead? Adrian looked back through the window. Ethan asleep on the couch. Mira cleaning up the kitchen, humming something off key. The warm light of a home that was finally being lived in. Here, he said. It led here. Summer came. Ethan spent weekends at the lake house. Mira taught him to fish off the dock. Badly. They were both terrible at it, but it became their thing anyway. Elena's health continued improving. By July, she'd weaned off the oxygen entirely. The doctors were cautiously optimistic, talking about long-term survival rates, using words like remission. Adrian watched her come back to life and thought about David, about the life they should have had, about the 30 years stolen by fear and lies and his father's need to control everything. He couldn't fix that, couldn't give Elena back those years, but he could give her these ones, and maybe that was enough. In August, on a day so hot the air shimmered, Mira called. Mom wants to talk to you, in person, says it's important. Is something wrong? I don't know. She won't tell me. Just keeps saying she needs to talk to you. Adrian drove up that afternoon, found Elena sitting on the porch, the meteorite ring catching sunlight. You wanted to see me? Sit. Elena gestured to the chair beside her. Please. He sat. Elena took a breath. I've been thinking about David, about what he would want, what he would do if he were here. Okay. He wrote me letters. Did I tell you that? Before he died. 7 letters, 1 for each day of the week. He'd leave them in my mailbox. Stupid romantic things, poems he made up, drawings, plans for our future. Her voice went soft. I burned them when I ran. Burned everything that connected us because I was terrified someone would find them and track me down. I'm sorry. Don't be. I remember them. Every word. I used to recite them to Mira when she was little. Tell her stories about her father without saying his name. Elena turned the ring on her finger. There was one letter where he talked about legacy, about what he wanted to leave behind. He said the only thing that matters is whether you made the world better for the people you loved. Adrian waited. I want to do something, Elena said. For David, a memorial. Not a statue or a plaque. Something that helps people. Something he would have wanted. What did you have in mind? A foundation for single mothers, women who are running from something, who need help and have nowhere to go. Elena met his eyes. I know what it's like to be terrified and alone. To have a child and no resources and people hunting you. If I could have had help back then, real help, not just charity, everything would have been different. You want to help women like you were, like I was, before you found me. She paused. I know it's a lot. I know I have no right to ask. You have every right, and it's a perfect idea. Elena blinked. Really? Really? David would have loved it. I love it. Adrian pulled out his phone. How much do you need to start? I haven't thought that far. I just had the idea this morning. Give me a number. Adrian, I can't ask you to fund. You're not asking. I'm offering. What do you need? Elena looked flustered. I don't know. $1 million? Is that too much? Too little? I don't know how these things work. We'll start with $5 million. Set up a proper foundation. Hire people who know what they're doing. Get legal protection for the women who need help. Make it real. $5 million is nothing compared to what you lost, what David lost. Let me do this, please. Elena's eyes filled. You're going to make me cry again. Sorry. No, you're not. No, I'm not. They laughed. It felt good. Easy. Like something they'd been doing for years instead of months. We should name it after him, Elena said. The David Vail Foundation. So people remember there was someone who cared, who tried to do the right thing even when it cost him everything. He'd like that. Yeah, he would. They spent the rest of the afternoon planning. Elena had ideas, so many ideas about how to help, who to help, what resources to provide. Adrian took notes, made calls, started putting the machinery in motion. By the time he left, the foundation was real. Not just a dream. An actual thing that would help actual people. On the drive back to Chicago, Adrian thought about legacy. About what people leave behind. His father had left money and buildings and a company that would eventually forget him. David had left a ring and a daughter and love that survived 30 years of lies. Adrian knew which one mattered. September brought Ethan's 8th birthday. They celebrated at the lake house, Ethan's request. He wanted everyone there. Mira made a cake that leaned slightly to one side but tasted perfect. Elena gave Ethan a photo album she'd been working on in secret, filled with pictures of David and stories about who he'd been. So you know where you come from, Elena told him. So you know your grandfather was someone worth remembering. Ethan studied each photo carefully, asked questions, wanted to know everything. He looks happy, Ethan said, pointing to a picture of David laughing at something off camera. He was, Elena said, especially near the end. When he knew about you, well, not you specifically, but the baby. He was so excited. He'd already picked out names. What names? Elena glanced at Adrian. For a boy, he wanted Ethan. For a girl, he wanted Mira. The room went silent. Wait, Mira said. You named me after what your father wanted. Yes. Elena's voice shook. I couldn't use his last name, couldn't put him on the birth certificate, but I could give you the name he chose, so part of him would always be with you. Mira sat down heavily. I didn't know that. I was waiting for the right time to tell you. This felt right. Mira looked at Adrian, at Ethan, at her mother. He knew about me, she said slowly, before he died. He knew. He knew. And he loved you. He told me that. Said he loved you before you were even born. Elena wiped her eyes. I wish he could have met you, both of you. But I think somehow he knows. Wherever he is, I think he knows. Ethan got up, hugged Elena, then Mira, then Adrian. I'm glad we're family, he said simply. Me too, Mira whispered. Me too, Elena echoed. Adrian just nodded, couldn't trust himself to speak. October turned the trees red and gold. The David Vail Foundation officially launched. The response was overwhelming. Women reached out from across the country. Some running from abuse, some running from poverty, some running from systems that had failed them. The foundation helped. Not perfectly. Nothing was perfect. But they helped. Elena threw herself into the work, answered calls, spoke to applicants, shared her own story when it helped someone else feel less alone. Adrian had never seen her so alive, so purposeful. "She's happy," Mira observed one weekend. They were sitting on the dock, feet dangling over the water. Ethan was exploring the tree line with a stick, pretending to be an adventurer. "She is. I don't think I've ever seen her happy before. Not like this. Not without fear underneath. Fear's gone, or at least quieter." Mira nodded. "What about you? Are you happy?" The question surprised him. Adrian thought about it, about his life before and after. Before was successful but empty. After was messier but full. "Yeah," he said. "I think I am." "Good. You deserve it." "So do you." Mira smiled. "I'm working on believing that." "Work faster." She laughed, kicked water at him. He splashed back. Ethan saw and came running, joining in, and within minutes they were all soaked and laughing and completely ridiculous. Adrian couldn't remember the last time he'd felt this light. November brought the first snow. Elena stood at the window, watching it fall. "I always loved snow," she said. "David and I used to—" She stopped, smiled. "We used to go to Navy Pier when it snowed, walk along the water. It was freezing, but we didn't care." "You miss him." "Every day. But it's different now. Less painful. More grateful, I think. Grateful I had him at all, even if it was brief." Adrian understood that. Grief and gratitude weren't opposites. They existed together. You could miss someone and still be thankful for the time you'd had. "I want to show you something," Elena said. She went to her room, came back with a small box. Inside was a ring, simple gold band, worn thin. "This was David's," she said. "He wore it before he gave me the meteorite one. Said it was his grandfather's. I found it in his apartment after he died. Kept it all these years." She held it out to Adrian. "It should be yours. Or Ethan's when he's older. Something real from David. Something that proves he existed." Adrian took the ring carefully. It was light, delicate, warm from Elena's hands. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for making sure he's remembered, for the foundation, for being the kind of man he would have been proud to call brother." "I hope I am." "You are. Trust me." In December, on a cold, clear day, they held a small ceremony at the lake house, just the four of them. They planted a tree, an oak, because Elena said David loved oaks, and put a simple marker beneath it. David Vail, 1971 to 1995. "Loved deeply. Remembered always," Elena cried. Mira held her. Ethan asked if grandfather David could see them from wherever he was. "I think so," Elena said. "I think he's been watching all along." They stood together in the cold, four people connected by loss and love and the stubborn refusal to let lies be the last word. After, they went inside, drank hot chocolate, told stories about David, Elena's memories, Adrian's discoveries, the person they were piecing together from fragments. "What do you think he'd say?" Ethan asked. "If he could see us now?" Elena thought about it. "I think he'd say he was sorry he couldn't be here, but that he was glad we found each other anyway. And that we're doing a good job," Mira added. "Being a family, even though we're terrible at it sometimes." "We're not terrible," Adrian protested. "We're a little terrible." "Maybe a little." They laughed. It was easy now, natural, the kind of laughter that came from being comfortable with each other's broken edges. Christmas was quiet. They talked about doing something big, New York or maybe Miami, but decided against it. The lake house felt right, felt like home. Ethan got the bicycle he'd been wanting. Mira got cookbook supplies from Elena and a donation to a culinary school in her name from Adrian. Elena got a new tablet loaded with audiobooks and a promise from all of them to stop treating her like she was fragile. Adrian got David's ring on a chain so he could wear it close. "I already have one ring," he'd protested. "Now you have two," Elena said. One from the man you became, one from the man who made this all possible. Wear them both. So he did. New Year's came, they watched fireworks over the lake. Illegal, probably, but Mira had connections and Adrian had stopped caring about rules that didn't matter. At midnight, as the sky exploded with light, Elena pulled Adrian aside. I need to tell you something. Should I be worried? No, the opposite. She took a breath. The doctors say I'm in remission, full remission. They want to monitor me for 5 years, but I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. Adrian felt something crack open in his chest. Relief. Joy. The release of tension he'd been carrying for months. Elena, I know. I can't believe it either. She wiped her eyes. I thought I was dying. 6 months ago, I thought I had weeks, and now you have years, decades maybe. Decades. She tested the word. I don't know what to do with decades. Live them, that's all. Just live. Elena hugged him, tight and fierce. Thank you, she whispered. For giving me time. For giving me family. For giving me a reason to fight. You gave me the same thing. They stood like that while fireworks painted the sky, while Ethan and Mira cheered, while the year turned and everything changed again. January brought normalcy, or the closest thing to it. Ethan went back to school. Mira enrolled in culinary classes, online for now, but she was learning. Elena continued running the foundation, helping women who needed it. Adrian ran Vail Industries with a new philosophy. Profit mattered, but people mattered more. The board hated it at first. Then they saw the numbers. Employee retention up, productivity up, public image transforming from ruthless to responsible. Turned out treating people like humans was good for business. Who knew? One Friday in late January, Adrian got a call from an unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Adrian Vail? The voice was unfamiliar. Male, cautious. Who's this? My name is Marcus. Not your Marcus. Different Marcus. I worked with your brother, David. I was his roommate senior year of college. Adrian sat up straight. Okay. I heard about the foundation, saw it in the news, and I have something that belongs to David. Well, belonged to David. I've been holding on to it for 30 years, didn't know who to give it to. His family wanted nothing to do with his memory, and Elena disappeared, and I kept it. But if there's a foundation in his name, if people are remembering him, what is it? Letters, journals, some photographs, his things from college, everything your father tried to erase. I kept it all. Adrian couldn't breathe. Where are you? Seattle, but I can ship. Don't ship it. I'm coming to you tomorrow. Don't do anything until I get there. He called Mira immediately. We're going to Seattle tomorrow. There's someone who knew David, someone who has his things. What things? I don't know, but we're going to find out. They flew out Saturday morning, Adrian, Mira, and Elena. Ethan stayed with Mrs. Chen, disappointed but understanding. Seattle was gray and wet, exactly like Chicago, but somehow different. Marcus, the other Marcus, the college roommate, met them at a coffee shop near the university. He was 50-something, graying, wore a cardigan that had seen better days. I'm sorry, he said immediately, for not reaching out sooner, for keeping this from you. I didn't know what to do with it. You did the right thing, Elena said. You kept him safe. That's what matters. Marcus pulled out a box. Cardboard taped carefully, labeled in fading marker, David's stuff. Inside was a life. Journals from college filled with David's handwriting. Photographs of him with friends, at parties, studying in libraries. Letters he'd written but never sent, to his father, mostly, saying all the things he couldn't say in person. Sketches, poems, a mixtape labeled Songs That Make Me Think, and at the bottom, a videotape. What's this? Adrian asked. David's senior project, film class. He interviewed people about what family meant to them. It was... Marcus's voice cracked. It was really good. He got an A. They watched it that night in Adrian's hotel room. The quality was terrible. 1990s camcorder, grainy and washed out. But David's voice came through clear. He was young in the video, 23, maybe 24. Optimistic in a way that broke Adrian's heart because he knew how the story ended. David asked people, what is family? Who counts as family? What do you owe to family? The answers varied. But at the end, David turned the camera on himself. I think family is whoever shows up, he said. Not just when it's easy, but when it's hard, when it costs you something. Family is the people who see you completely, the good and the ugly and the broken parts, and choose to stay anyway. He smiled. It was David's smile. Adrian recognized it from photographs, from Ethan's face. I'm going to be a father soon, David said, and I'm terrified, but I'm so excited because I get to show this kid what family really means. Not money or legacy or any of that stuff my dad cares about. Just love, showing up, being there even when it's hard. The video ended. They sat in silence. Elena was crying. Mira was crying. Adrian felt something wet on his own face and realized he was crying too. He knew, Elena whispered. He knew what mattered. Yeah, Adrian said. He did. They took the box back to Chicago, to the lake house, spent weeks going through everything. Reading journals, looking at photos, learning who David had been. He was funny, terrible at spelling, loved jazz music and Italian food, worried about failing, dreamed big, loved hard, was scared of his father but tried to stand up to him anyway. He was human, imperfect, real, and he was family. In March, they added a room to the lake house, a library technically, but really a memorial. They filled it with David's things, his journals, his photographs, his video. A place where Ethan could come and learn about his grandfather, where anyone could come and see that David Vale had existed, had mattered, had loved. Above the door, they hung a quote from his senior project film, "Family is whoever shows up." Simple, true, exactly right. Adrian stood in that room one afternoon in April, exactly 1 year after Elena had been cleared from Johns Hopkins. He wore both rings now, the meteorite and David's gold band, carried both legacies. Ethan found him there. "Dad, Aunt Mira says dinner's ready." "I'll be right there." Ethan hesitated. "Do you think Grandfather David would like us, like who we are?" Adrian looked at his son, thought about David's video, about showing up, about love. "Yeah," he said, "I think he'd love us, and I think he'd be proud we found each other. Even though it took so long? Especially because it took so long. Good things are worth waiting for." Ethan nodded, satisfied with that answer. "Come on, Grandma Elena made her lasagna. If we're late, Aunt Mira will eat all the crusty corner pieces." They went downstairs together. The house smelled like garlic and tomatoes and home. Mira was indeed eyeing the corner pieces. Elena was setting the table, moving easily now, no oxygen, no fear. She looked up when Adrian entered, smiled. "There you are. We were about to start without you." Wouldn't miss it. They sat, ate, talked over each other, laughed at stupid jokes, made plans for summer, argued about whether pineapple belonged on pizza. All the normal, beautiful, impossible things families do. And Adrian realized something. He'd spent his whole life trying to build an empire, trying to prove himself, trying to become someone his father would be proud of. But David had already shown him what actually mattered: family, love, showing up even when it's hard, not because you have to, because you want to, because some things are worth fighting for, worth changing for, worth building your entire life around. After dinner, they walked down to the lake. The sun was setting, painting everything gold. Elena stood at the water's edge, the breeze catching her hair. Mira and Ethan skipped stones, badly, laughing every time they sank. Adrian stood back and watched them. His family, broken and rebuilt and imperfect and real. He thought about the night he'd met Mira, the meteorite ring that had started everything, how one small detail had unraveled 30 years of lies and led him here. To this moment, this place, these people. It wasn't perfect. There were still hard days. Elena had nightmares sometimes. Mira struggled with trust. Ethan asked questions about why Grandpa James never visited. Adrian worked too much and forgot to call and made mistakes constantly. But they were trying, showing up, choosing each other, and maybe that was all family ever was. Not perfection, not some ideal version where everything worked out smoothly, just people choosing to stay, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. Elena turned, caught Adrian watching, smiled, waved him over. He went, stood beside her at the water's edge. both of them wearing meteorite rings, both of them carrying David's legacy forward. "Thank you," Elena said quietly, "for all of this, for giving me my life back. You did that yourself. I just helped." "You did more than help. You chose us. When you could have chosen so many other things. You chose us." Adrian looked at her, at Mira teaching Ethan the proper stone-skipping technique, at the lake stretching endless before them. "It wasn't really a choice," he said. "Your family. Family shows up." Elena's eyes filled. David would have said exactly that. "Good. Maybe I'm learning. Maybe we all are." They stood together in the fading light, four people connected by loss and love and the stubborn refusal to let lies win. And somewhere, Adrian thought, David was watching. Proud of what they'd built from the broken pieces he'd left behind. Not an empire, not a legacy measured in money or power, just a family. Imperfect and real and worth everything. The sun set, the stars came out, and they stayed there together, watching the sky change, knowing tomorrow would bring new challenges and new chances to mess up, and new opportunities to try again. But tonight was perfect. Not because everything was fixed, not because the pain was gone, but because they were together. And that, in the end, was all that mattered. Family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up, who stays, who chooses you and keeps choosing you day after day, even when it's hard. Adrian had learned that lesson 32 years too late. But he'd learned it, and he wasn't letting go. Not now. Not ever. They walked back to the house together, leaving footprints in the sand that the lake would wash away by morning. But that was okay. They'd make new ones tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that, for as long as they had, for as long as they kept showing up, because that's what family does.